Hello, everyone. Paul Elam here with A Voice for Men, and today I'm doing an interview with the ever soft-spoken, tactful, never offensive JudgyBitch from JudgyBitch.com. Would you like to say hi to everybody, JudgyBitch?
Well, I'm feeling a little bit shy. I don't know. I might need some time. Hey.
We'll give you all the time you need.
All right.
I somehow don't believe this woman is quite that shy and retiring, but we'll find out in the course of this interview. You, of course, have been writing and doing some blogging and expressing a lot of ideas for quite a while now about men and men's issues, what's happening in our culture. It's almost obligatory. I don't put stock in anybody's opinion based on their gender, but it is an appropriate question to ask. As a woman, what attracted you to this area that was started out anyway, typically dominated by men, but now there's a lot of women involved. So let's hear a little bit of your story. What got you interested in these issues and in about speaking to them so publicly?
Well, it goes back a really long way. I mean, I was raised on a farm with three brothers by wingnut, tinfoil hat-wearing, conspiracy, evangelical Christian maniacs. And they loved their corporal punishment. So this idea that women are kind and gentle by nature, I love it when people say, oh, if women ran the world, there wouldn't be any wars, and we'd all just live peacefully and hug each other. You don't want to live in a world my mother was in charge of, let me tell you. I mean, she makes Pol Pot look like a nice, gentle, reasonable guy. So that whole idea to me was preposterous. I grew up with a really violent, dangerous woman. And I had three brothers. And they had it much worse than I did. So the idea that being treated more chivalrously, maybe, is something bad was just insane in my world. So I grew up with the idea that, stay away from women. They're just as dangerous as men. And you get an easy go of this, girl, because you are a girl. Then my mother decided, for no reason that I can discern, that her marriage was over, she needed to be free. She found feminism and went after that as zealously as she had pursued religion, and turned it into the exact same kind of violent ideology, which wasn't hard because that's an easy ideology to turn into something violent. And I went off to university, and very cleverly I took a degree in watching movies. Seriously. My undergrad degree is in watching movies. I majored in Johnny Depp. And when you sign up for film theory at a university, it's not explicitly stated that this is going to be seen all through the eyes of feminism, but it is. It is. So I had 4 years of training in feminism, and I know all of the talking points there, and none of it matched up with what I could actually see in my lived reality. And I'd say the real key point is when I became a stay-at-home mother. That's when I really started thinking about the fact that this culture doesn't like men. And it wasn't the sneering contempt I got for staying at home that bothered me. I mean, whatever, fuck off. It was more the whispers. All these people saying, but aren't you afraid your husband's just going to walk out the door? He's going to leave you and the children to just starve in the street? I mean, you're taking such a risk. How can you depend on a man? They're monsters. Like, okay, that's just crazy. I'm looking around at my life, and I know one man who initiated his divorce, and that was only after the domestic violence from his wife escalated beyond annoying and slightly painful to life-threatening. She severed his carotid artery by throwing a stoneware plate at his head. And at that point, he's like, all right, yeah, we're done now. In every other case, it was women initiating the divorce. And here's all these people saying to me, oh, but your husband's going to walk out and leave you to starve. And where are these men? I mean, they just weren't anywhere to be found. What I saw was a lot of pampered, fat, white, spoiled women blowing up their lives for no reason. And I think that's when I really started talking with my friends. My very good friend, Clever Guy, says that reading the blog is exactly like sitting at the dinner table with me. That's always blah, 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 blah. And so finally my girlfriend and I are like, why don't we make a blog? And I'm like, all right, let's make a blog. What should we call it? Hey, how about JudgyBitch? And that's how it was born. And I just started writing, and all of these things that I talked about around the dinner table with my friends suddenly came out on paper. And that's really where I came from. I spent a lot of time reading on the internet. So I found a voice for men very quickly. I mean, if you start looking at men's issues, you run into a voice for men right away. For some reason, I never hit the pickup artist community. I mean, I know that they get affiliated with men's rights, but I never ran across them. I came to the Spearhead. I found a voice for men. I found Doll Rock. I guess because I was looking at it more as a mom and as a wife. So I did a lot of reading before I ever started the blog and learned a lot and found that I barely knew anything. There's still so much to learn. When I go back and look at my earliest pieces and what I'm capable of writing now, it's been an amazing growth, an amazing experience.
Well said. It sounds like in your early experience in going to college that you left a home that was somewhat crazy in many ways, and then found a university that was like a psychodramatic mirror of your zealous mother continuing to preach. That must have really felt like a deflating balloon in your plans to get away and individuate and separate from your family, that you went from out of the frying pan into the fire.
Well, in actual fact, my mother's feminism is so crazy. She did full-scale parental alienation to my three brothers and I. She told us that our father had walked out and never looked back. And, of course, being children, we had no idea that this was implausible. My mother continued to pay for our house. We all had YMCA memberships. I mean, we had clothes. We had food. How was this possible? But as a child, that never really occurred to me. So my mother's insanity, like men should all be dead, men should all be destroyed, and she has 3 sons. She's saying this to my 3 brothers about how useless and awful. By the time I got to university, it seemed downright reasonable that we were just talking about the fact that men suck. I mean, okay, we can agree they suck. Once we're past, like, genocide, it's starting to get a little bit more reasonable. So in many ways, it was a relief to go there, coming out of such a bitter manifestation of feminism.
What was your reaction, just out of curiosity? I mean, part of ABF Film's history is that we were a moderate-sized blog, and then the gift of Toronto, Ontario happened to the men's movement in the protest up there against Warren Farrell, which really put us on the map and put a lot of men's issues writers on the map, either directly or indirectly. What was your reaction to seeing that near riot up there of people that are supposedly about equality?
On one hand, I was astonished. I mean, Big Red singing "Cry Me a River." I just wanted to punch her in the face, as I'm sure many people did. Like, and to pick that particular issue, I mean, if it had been like, oh, well, men are incarcerated at greater rates, or men are homeless, but to grab the issue of male suicide and sing "Cry Me a River," I mean, what a cunt. And then I quickly realized that she just did more to destroy her own credibility than we ever could have. Like, the very little people are going to have any sympathy whatsoever for singing "Cry Me a River" over suicide. It was amazing. I mean, boy, shoot yourself in the face. Go right ahead.
Free ticket for Big Red to the conference in June, by the way. You just show up at the door, Buttercup, and we will let you in. Let's move on. There's been a lot said recently about, finally, there's being a lot said about the women in the men's movement. There were a couple of years there where feminists tried to pretend you guys just didn't exist. They would write about men's rights groups like we were comprised exclusively of white male over 40 people, comprised just of people like me and no one else. Totally denied. I know that we even had some honey badgers hijack their way into a conversation that John Hembling had with ABC News 2020, and the producer would not even acknowledge that they were on the line. He just totally pretended like, I'm not listening, you're not here, I just want to talk to John. But now they are getting around to it, and of course they're coming up with names like labia traders and women who have internalized misogyny and who are attention whores seeking male approval. What do you have to say to these people that have gone this direction?
Absolutely nothing. You know, I used to try and justify it to say, well, I'm a wife, I'm a mother of a son, I love my father, I love my brothers. But you know what? That's ridiculous. I don't have to be a coffee picker in the Andes mountain to care about what happens to them. I'm stealing this line. I don't know who to attribute it to. If I did, I would. But someone wrote, because men are humans, and what other reason do you need? And that's exactly, I don't need to explain to you what my personal connections to men are. That doesn't fucking matter. I mean, I live in a little town, and I don't personally have any black friends. I still care about civil rights for people of all skin colors, and I don't need to know any of them or love any of them to care. So the idea that there's something special about women caring about someone else's human rights is deeply offensive. I mean, my question would be, why don't you care?
I believe, and I may be mistaken, but I think we can attribute your quote to Hannah Wallen, if I'm not mistaken. But that's a guess on my part. I did see a meme with her holding that statement up, and I think it was her that wrote it.
Well, thank you, Hannah.
I'm sorry?
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you, Hannah. Yes. What reason do women need to be concerned about human rights? Is there some? I'm wondering if they need to justify it in a particular way, if they have to have an excuse. Because what this is to me is, again, how feminism has always. They pathologize women that want to stay at home and take care of their kids. They pathologize women that speak up about men's issues. They pathologize anybody that disagrees with feminism. There must be something wrong with anybody who doesn't live like they want you to live, who doesn't think like they want you to think, and who doesn't feel like they want you to feel. Which brings me to another topic that I thought you were uniquely qualified, well, maybe not uniquely, but specially qualified in a lot of ways to talk about, and it is a somewhat sensitive subject in the men's movement because there is there is some factions within our movement, and sometimes our relationships with each other are really good, and sometimes they're somewhat frictional. But I've changed a lot over the years from where I started, particularly in my attitudes about people with traditional values. I have not changed my mind that values are not something that you get to inflict on other people. It is a personal choice. You don't get to tell me how to live or anybody else how to live. But I do think at times that we have unnecessarily antagonized people in this movement who hold traditional values. And that happens to be a lot of people in this movement. There is a lot of support for a voice for men and for working on men's issues from people that are married, from people that believe in marriage. And so what we're doing is we're looking for ways of how do we honor men who choose to go their own way and are just saying, I'm done. I don't trust the courts. I don't trust women. I don't trust anything. And honor what they're doing and respect and support them for doing that. And at the same time, we don't need to crap on people that have traditional values and that choose to live traditional lives. And I wonder how you merge that in your life. That sort of, because I know that some of your values are more traditional. How does that fit for you, and how do you, I hate to ask a woman how she feels, but I'm going to. How do you feel about some of the sentiment that you see in the men's movement regarding traditionalism and things like that?
Well, It's a couple of issues all wrapped up in there. First, I think Dean Esmay's Pendulum article about traditionalism and that our so-called traditional values were never traditional for anyone. This is a very recent part of history. The reason I live the life I do has to do with how our modern economy is structured. It has nothing to do with caring particularly about traditional values. It's just that labor market participation and being a decent, good mother, available mother, those things don't work together very well. Now, if I was a 19th century farm wife, you can bet your ass I'd be churning butter for the lumberjacks at the mill. I'd be doing everything I could to contribute economically while still being available to my kids. So my life comes out of the way our economy is structured. Now, the other issue is men deciding they want nothing to do with marriage, not because they don't believe in marriage, but because of the potential abuse. And it's very, very real. People have said to me, you have a loaded gun pointed at your husband's head. And that's true. I didn't make that, and I have no intention of pulling the trigger, but I agree that it's absolutely insane that even though I have not contributed to my family economically, at the drop of a hat, I can just walk out on my husband, take the house, take the kids, all the courts are behind me. That's craziness. So I understand the men going their own way, and I think you just have to respect that they're a little bit more risk averse. They're not willing to take the risk for very good reasons. There's nothing shameful about rejecting marriage. I feel sad for them because a good marriage and a lovely family is just one of the most important things, but it's tough. I mean, there's not a lot of women who they've been given power, and it's always hard to give up power. So I know
it's very tempting to use if you get angry, which happens in all marriages.
Yeah. That seems a bit excessive for me. I guess I either don't get that angry or it doesn't occur to me. But I do understand when the men going their own way movement say things like, women are just not worth it. On the other hand, I think that strategically, that's not a wise thing to express over vehemently. Because those are the kinds of things that are used against the MHRM, saying, oh, they hate all women, or they think women are useless, or they only want women who are bound and gagged in the kitchen, which always makes me laugh. If men wanted us bound and gagged in the kitchen, it would be over. I mean, that's what would happen. Have you heard of Saudi Arabia? I mean, that place exists. You want to talk about patriarchy and misogyny? Wow, that's it. I mean, the oppression Olympics we play here is preposterous. But, I mean, back to that question, I don't think we should be... Both sides can be criticized. Traditionalists can be criticized, too, saying, this isn't traditional. I mean, the idea that my husband goes out to work and pays all the bills was a reality for a tiny aristocracy. I mean, really, that's the traditional values you're holding so dear to, is the aristocratic ideal, where women truly were useless. They did nothing. But that wasn't the reality for most people, and it's a function of how our economy is structured. So traditionalists are imagining a past that never was, and can rightly be criticized for that. But at the same time, they're responding rationally to the way our economy is structured, and men going their own way are responding in a very risk-averse way to a very real situation, that it's easy to abuse men. Easy. Everything, our entire culture backs it up. So both sides have good parts and both sides have bad parts.
Agreed. To a point, and I feel obligated to make it, I would suggest people also, certainly I'm not going to get into any kind of real discussion at length on the Middle East, but even there, the sense of patriarchy and oppression is not a one-sided story. I would suggest reading some articles by Ali Marspond at A Voice for Men that will talk to you about divorce laws in Iran, but we'll move on from there into other areas. I want to talk about a couple of more contemporary things. Recently, we've had the big blow-up with Adele Mercier. From your country, which I get to, yay, it's not us for a change.
Yeah.
This is, just to give everybody the background, Adele Mercier basically came online and asserted that sexually molesting boys who were incarcerated in juvenile facilities was not really rape, and they were probably high-fiving each other, and she went as far as to describe these as relationships, as though they were legit. And she didn't much like the reaction from the men's movement about it, and we're not done by any stretch of the imagination. But can you give me your take on this woman, because I find her completely and utterly insane?
Battle axe, batshit insane. There's not a lot of nice things to say. I mean, the hypocrisy is just stunning. The equivalent would be to say that teenage girls who go and fuck rock stars and high five after haven't been, you know, have not been exploited by those rock stars. And even that's a bit of a, I mean, she would freak out at that, right? Oh my goodness, middle-aged rock stars fucking teenage girls, that's obviously rape. We're talking about boys who are in prison. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's no more stark an example of power. You can lock someone in a room and they're not allowed to leave. I mean, and then to, ugh. I mean, prisoners, guards having sex with young boys who are obviously so troubled they've ended up in this facility. It's sadism. It's just, it makes me sick. I mean, I can't even imagine. If she was going to pick an issue to just destroy her own credibility, wow, she couldn't have picked a better one. You're having sex with boys in prison. It's like some strange feminist porno come to life.
And I want to state that even after the backlash, when there was a bunch of apologists for Adele Mercier running around the internet saying that's not what she meant, she didn't say that, when she did, and that is what she meant, she came back out and said, I still stand behind everything I said. After she had time to, if she was having an emotional sort of temporary psychosis that led her to saying really, really stupid things, she had time to process this over the course of days, and came back and reiterated that what she said was correct and that she still stood behind it. So we're not looking at somebody who made just a stupid statement or a slip of the tongue or said something without thinking, unfortunately. We're looking at somebody who thought about the idea of using your power to get sex out of young boys who were incarcerated, and that being all right. And she still stands behind it. Anyway, this is an interview of you, not me, and I don't want to get into too much of my opinions about this, but I think they're pretty plain. Let's talk a moment about Cathy Young. And this is one that I wanted to ask you about, and just for the sake of everybody, I want to fill you in on the background in case you don't know about Cathy Young. Cathy Young is a writer, social commentator who has been writing and done some really good work over many years, addressing men's issues that are underaddressed, challenging victim feminism. She has done some good stuff. However, 6, 7, maybe 8 months ago, she came out with an article in the Boston Globe describing A Voice for Men as offering a steady, vulgar diet of misogyny and woman-hating, or something to that effect. I don't have the exact quote. And we wrote a response which she didn't like, and she is apparently temperamental, is a word I want to use. She is prone to sort of exploding on Twitter when she hears something she doesn't like and making repeated threats. And her most recent one I'm going to show everybody now. She came out on Twitter in an exchange with Dean Esme, basically threatening to write, she's going to write another article about A Voice for Men, and she's going to prove that we are a hate site. And she's going to provide links to the fact that we're a hate site. wow. Let me throw this at you. What do you make of this?
Well, first of all, I pissing match. I mean, who's vulgar? Isn't that just typical of the hypocrisy? Don't swear at me, you motherfucker. Okay. All right, we're done with that. I think this is one of the dangers, and I'm sure that there's lots of men who are aware of it, that one of the dangers of having women come out prominently in any kind of movement is that we are socialized to believe that we set the tone, that we are the civilizing agents, and how we want this to go is how it should go. And you are allowed to have your thoughts, but you must express them in a way that I approve of. Think of Donglegate, right? The dongle joke. Well, that offends me. With the Adria Richards or something like that, I can't remember. That comes out of that sense that, well, now that I'm here, we're all going to do this my way. You will all bow to me. It's just another iteration of the gratitude we're supposed to have as a culture for women's benevolence. And of course, whenever I see or hear about women's benevolence, I immediately think back to my own mother and think, oh, fuck, watch out for that, because, boy, that can turn into malevolence really quickly. And I think Kathy Young is just one of those women who wants to put you in your place. I mean, even if she agrees, guess what? She's up here and you're down here, and don't mind your place. And I think you can use those women and not use them. That's not a really nice way to say it. You can appreciate the advantages that they might have to offer, and at the same time, give them a little bit of a, shut your cock holster there. You ain't in charge.
I like use them better. That works for me. I think you probably just nailed that better than I've ever heard it expressed. And I do agree with you 100%. Kathy Young is upset at anything, threatening her own relevance to this thing. She wants to be the one that is sending the message. And she certainly doesn't want us lowly men to be speaking for ourselves in ways that she doesn't approve of. And so now she's showing her true color. She's threatening us. She is threatening to damage us. This is like a jaded borderline wife having a hissy fit over control in the relationship.
Yes.
So what I can say to Kathy Young is write your fucking article. There won't be a pissing match, because all you're going to do is draw people into the fact that you don't know what you're talking about. And it becomes more and more evident all the time. She was asked repeatedly, by the way, and has been asked, to explain if what we are is a bunch of woman-hating men, what are all these women doing here? And I'm not talking about one or two token women. I'm talking about a whole slew of women, and in management positions, and in helping us run things, and in helping us do activism, and in leading things that happen at A Voice for Men. How does she explain this? She's never had an answer other than the inference that Aaron Pitsey was brainwashed and kind of maybe hoodwinked or stupid for having believed what we're doing isn't wrong. How do you respond to somebody like this?
Well, the first thing you point out is that woman and feminist are not synonyms. That's preposterous. I get called a woman hater too, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't criticize women. I criticize a particular ideology that happens to be held by a lot of women. Men can be feminists too, and people who don't necessarily apply the label to themselves can still embrace the ideology in their actions and thoughts. I am criticizing an ideology. It's not the same thing as criticizing women. That's like saying if I criticize Republicans, it means that I hate white men because most Republicans are white men. No, it's ridiculous. It's such a straw man argument. Just criticizing an ideology is not the same thing as criticizing women. And that's the first response that you have. Anyone who says this site is woman hating, prove it. Where? Where? Get me the evidence. Get me the evidence that says we hate women. It just doesn't exist. It's the best thing she can do. Kathy, go ahead, write your article. Let me see your evidence for how it is that we hate women. And I guarantee you, every single thing is going to be a criticism of feminism that she doesn't like. And you just let them hang themselves. Go ahead. You just keep pointing out that logical fallacy, and eventually it's going to stick. I mean, did you see how many articles? Can you even count how many articles are out there that says misandry is not a word and it's not a thing and forget it, we're just not? And what's in Slate today? What's in Slate today? A story about the brilliant misandry of a particular TV show. I mean, we're not even going to talk about calling misandry brilliant, but the word is in the vocabulary now, and you're not going to take it out. It's there. So get your little spell check programs updated, because that little red line is not relevant anymore. And that's just it. You iterate the message again and again and again. Chinese water torture.
I love watching people obsessively write about something they're saying doesn't exist. It's absolutely amazing to watch. It's not real. It's not real. This thing right here that I'm showing you is not real. This thing that I'm doing is not real. Absolutely mind-boggling. There is an assumption that is underlying Kathy Young's position on this that I have seen in a lot of feminists. And I'm not calling Kathy Young a feminist. I think she is gynocentric, and I think she is really, really on top of the idea that she's actually in charge of this. But there is an assumption that, you know, and again, I don't take like misandric stuff as an assault personally as a man. I think it's stupid stuff. But I also see where somebody might at times, and I'm beginning to see where the women in the men's movement might be insulted with the idea that they're being written off as some sort of nutcases that are anti-woman. Is this the best argument that they can come up with? I mean, it's actually quite pathetic.
It's pathetic, and it is insulting, and it's a big topic that I write about at my blog as well. That if you just take feminism and look at all of the things it ascribes to women, that we're weak, we have no agency, we cannot be held responsible for our own actions, we're in need of protection, which is owed to us by men, you know, bystander interventions for rape. If you see me in trouble, it's your job to come and help me, but don't open the door for me because I can do that myself. I mean, their entire iteration of womanhood is nothing but a giant insult. And it falls right into that to say that I am Stockholm Syndrome, that's one of the favorites, right? Oh, you must have Stockholm Syndrome. Because apparently being married is exactly like being held hostage by a gunman. Actually, some people would say it is, only I'm the gunman.
Well, I think we've already covered that. Yes, indeed, feminism in its modern incarnation is a woman standing on a chair shrieking at a mouse and demanding that the world kill it for her. It is...
Yeah.
I would be insulted if I were a woman and there was this huge movement out there portraying me as incompetent and as a victim and as needing something from people all around me and being owed something from people all around me, because goodness knows I couldn't just make it on my own, which women have been doing for a long, long time. We're going to be winding down here in a couple of minutes. I wanted to ask your thoughts on the conference, whether you might be coming.
Oh, I'll be there. Oh, absolutely. I'm so
Oh my! JudgyBitch is going to be at the conference.
I'm going to be there with bells on. Oh yeah.
That is just another reason. One of the things I mentioned last night on mainstream media was that I can't. You know, there are people that have bought tickets. I see their names, but they're financial transactions, so I can't just come on a Google Hangout and start saying their names. But I'm telling you, there is going to be a lot of people. If you like JudgyBitch, there's going to be a lot of people in this audience, like her. This is going to be the biggest MRA party that's ever happened. And it's all the more reason. There's seats left if you want to come hang with us. We're not just going to listen to lectures and then go retire to our rooms. We're going to head it out and enjoy getting to know each other. Is there anything else that I perhaps haven't asked you about yourself, about the work you're doing now, or maybe even your plans for the future that you would like to talk about?
All right, how about my plans for the future? I have started a PhD program, and someone, I can't remember, some blogger wrote about what a hypocrite I am, that here I am advocating for women to stay at home and raise their children, and now I'm going to go out and get a PhD and be a professor. And it's that, to me, this is about how we structure our lives and how we organize our lives. And one of my biggest complaints about feminism is how much they lie to young women about what they're going to want out of their lives. What they effectively do is remove women's choice. And this is supposed to be about giving women the choice to do whatever they want to do, but it's an entire program designed to remove the most important choice of their life, and that is to be at home with their children if they want to be, to have a career and a job that can be structured to allow them to choose to be at home with their kids. This will require them to depend on a man, which is like, pardon me, let me just have a drink here, which is the biggest mistake any woman can ever do, right? Because men are so untrustworthy, and they're just evil monsters who are waiting to destroy you. And I'm very, very critical of that aspect of feminism. I have a bunny, and I think I just got a bunny hair in my throat.
You can take your time. This isn't CNN. We can.
I sound like I'm getting all emotional here, but I believe I just inhaled a rabbit hair.
Well, I'm going to send Pepsi a bill for that.
I could try sweeping too, but I am the laziest fucking bitch you've ever met.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. I got some swampland for you, too. PhD, mother, writer, videographer. Yeah, she's lazy. Okay, sure. Anything else? Please don't turn your head. Your nose will knock your camera over at this point.
Well, I personally would like to extend incredible thanks to you and everyone at AVFM that works so hard to deliver us with this material and this information, and to keep everyone informed, to run these conferences. And we all know that we're just at a breaking point in this movement. You guys are basically doing this for free, for nothing. That we're going to tip eventually into a place where we can start supporting you guys financially with money to do this work as every other activist is supported. It took Thurgood Marshall more than 30 years to build up the NAACP, so I say we are in good shape, we're speeding along here, and thank you. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. I'm humbled, and thank you for your work as well. All of us at AVFM, we're prepared to die poor. That is not an issue. What's issue here is that the young men in this culture, in my opinion, as hyperbolic and grandiose as it may seem, the young men in this culture don't have anybody but us. When it really gets down to it, they don't have anybody watching out for what's going to happen to them when they get in college, if they get there. They don't have anybody watching out for them when it comes to shoving prescription drugs in them to manage their behavior. They don't have anybody watching out for them when they're demonized, when they're told the boys are stupid, when they're shuttled off to the side, and when they're starting to fail in health and in suicide and in every other way. There is not only a society out there that is not helping, there is a big movement out there working actively to make sure that those boys and young men do not get help. They're working very hard at singing Cry Me a River. Mm-hmm. And we are what they have. And unfortunately, we're small, but I agree very much with Judgy. We are at the tipping point. Things are starting to come together. We have a lot more people that are prominent in media now, people like Barbara Kay, people like Warren Farrell, people like Senator Ann Cools, Paul Nathanson, the list goes on and on and on, that are not choosing the route of Kathy Young, that are choosing the route of standing up and understanding that we need to be provocative. We need to rattle people's cages in order to get this message across. And then when we have a society that's listening to and sympathizing and empathizing with the problems faced by men and boys, then we can settle down. But until then, not so much. JudgyBitch, it's been an honor speaking with you. Absolutely ecstatic that we have this now on our permanent record. People will be watching it, I'm sure, much in the days to come. And I hope we get to do it again. Maybe we could have another talk after the conference.
Sounds great. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And with that, I will wish everybody a great day. Take some more red pills and live the life that you want to live. Tell everybody else to screw off. Bye-bye.